Minister Bell, I spoke with the Central Okanagan Regional District yesterday, and they confirmed that there wasn't a community wildfire protection plan in place or implemented for the site where the Terrace Mountain fire occurred. That contract to do that work just went out the door 9 days before the fire started. I'm wondering, did that impact the severity of the fire, the lack of a plan that hadn't been implemented?
Well, what I can tell you is the Regional District of Central Okanagan did receive funds through the monies that were allocated, the $37 million that were allocated to UBCM. It is then their responsibility to implement those funds and establish the wildfire management plan. I think the fact that there was the relationship in place and that they'd initiated some of that work and that we had a better line of communications between our force protection branch and their local firefighters enabled us to get on that Glen Rosa fire very quickly and protect the number of structures that we did. The first 3 structures that were lost in the Glen Rosa fire were lost very, very quickly. It was on the front end of it. Interestingly, they were in different parts of the subdivision. They weren't necessarily all in the same cluster. And as I mentioned, I personally know 2 of the 3 owners of those homes. So it was unfortunate, and I think the work that was done perhaps was helpful in that it was initiated. If more work would have been done had those 3 homes been protected, I'm not sure that that would have been the case, but perhaps.
So did the lack of a community wildfire protection plan for the site of the Terrace Mountain fire, the lack of a written plan, the lack of an implemented plan, did that impact the severity of the Terrace Mountain fire?
I presume that the question you asked was relating to the Glen Rosa fire, so I apologize for that if you were referring to the Terrace Mountain fire. The Terrace Mountain fire at this point is in an area that is still needs to be further development in terms of wildfire management plans. We're going to have to ask the experts that after it's all done. It's hard to answer that question at this point in time. The Terrace Mountain fire is an interesting one because it's gone through various phases in terms of its life, from the point where there was very little or no risk, and as you know, we had it 90% contained at one point, where we had some huge wind circumstances and conditions that moved the fire into a very active phase again. It is the area that I mentioned earlier as well was designated as a prescribed burn area, and we knew that the fuel loading was high in it, and that's why we designated it as a prescribed burn area. So it's hard for me to answer that question. I'm not trying to evade it. It's simply hard to answer it until we've done the work afterwards to analyze it. We've already talked inside the ministry at an executive level about doing a careful analysis at the conclusion of this season to determine what's gone well, what we could improve upon. I am concerned that this could be an ongoing issue that we're facing with climate change, with hotter, drier weather, and I may be fooled, and next year we may be back into a wet summer. I don't know that, but I do know that it appears that we're getting hotter, drier weather, and I think we need to be vigilant, and I think we need to change our strategies and plans as we learn more from each individual fire season.
Should they have had a community wildfire protection plan in place for that area? It has been a while since the Philman report came out, recommended such plans be put in place.
I think every community that's in an interface zone in the province should have a wildfire management plan. And every community that's in the province should be managing their interface areas in terms of fuel loading requirements. The 2003 fires brought a real focus to that. And the implementation, I think, has been reasonably successful. There are about 100 communities that either currently have a wildfire management plan in place or are well through the process of doing that. I actually live in an interface area in Prince George. I live in what is considered to be one of the more volatile areas. Prince George has an excellent wildfire management interface plan that was put together by the City of Prince George that was funded collaboratively through the province, and they've also done extensive fuel load reduction strategies in the community. So some communities are further ahead than others, but I think there's been remarkable progress made.